like, phew, bro, you phoned that in. But you got paid, good on you.
Hey everybody, we're
Hello.
back again for another drive home review.
Yes, we are.
And this time we went and saw Thor, Love and Thunder.
Love and Turder.
I don't know. I don't even know exactly how to feel about it, to be honest. Because I will admit, I guess because of some of the early reviews and stuff like that, I kind of put my expectations really, really low.
Yeah, same.
So when you watched it, it wasn't as bad. However, I understand, because I had read earlier this week, I had seen a headline and I didn't read the article, so I didn't really go and verify what was
said in the article.
What was said in the article, but it was an article that the line was, you know, Hemsworth says that the movie was made by a 10-year-old. And I can see exactly where he's talking about.
Yes.
Because there was, it wasn't toilet humor or anything like that, but it was definitely like, I mean, like
it
the
was
one
directed like by someone that had like ADHD or something like that.
Something, but I mean, it was just weird because, like, and again, obviously spoilers, but you know, when they're on the boat and they're going to rescue the kids. And they have their little, oh yeah, you know, like I was like, you know, I figured I'd be like Thor and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and here's my catchphrase. Do you think that'll work? And it looked awkward. It looked stupid. It looked like,
yeah. That scene was very.
What just happened?
Filmed.
Yeah, I'm like, Natalie's such a great actress, and all of a sudden she just turned into like this dorky kid that like was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a catchphrase, like eat farts, you know? I mean, it was like that kind of like.
Well, you leaned over and said
silly.
It right after that scene, and it's just like cut right out of Attack of the Clones. I truly, deeply love you. Oh,
I mean, it was just horrible. And again, and as much as we, you know, we were Star Wars fans, so I mean, we were big into it, and we forgave a lot of the prequels bullcrap, even though it had a lot. It was pretty terrible. But anyways. Yeah, there's a lot with the prequels that weren't that great, you know. But
on Thor.
But yeah, but I mean, it was just that kind of like a weird kid vibe to it. And then like the whole handshake thing at the beginning with Quill, and half the bit with Quill too. But I mean,
that was just an afterthought. I mean, they just had to be there to say, remember at the end of Endgame, he went and hung out with the Guardians? Okay, well, here they are. This is them done.
Yes,
and
out.
It was...
Peace out.
So much was just played for jokes.
Yeah, a lot of that
Everything
whole
was
scene
just so played for jokes. And honestly, it did have some funny, like proper funny bits in it.
Yeah, there were moments where the humor was good.
But I also didn't feel it was anywhere near as clever or as funny as Ragnarok was. It just feels, it's like Marvel and Taika,
I don't know,
went and said, you remember what we did with Ragnarok? We're just gonna dumb that down. We're gonna double that, and we're gonna add to it. We're just gonna kind of make it more, and to some extent worse. It was, I mean, God, the goats was.
It was
kind of funny at first.
I didn't laugh at all.
Then. Yeah, I like when they first showed up, I was like, huh. And then every time afterwards, I'm like, not funny.
Yeah, it's like old already.
Not funny.
Old.
And it was.
It's like that goat thing with the goat scream, that got old after the Taylor Swift thing.
And that was on top of it all. I'm like, how old is this joke?
It's like 5 years old, it feels like. So it's like, why now? Bring it back. It was dumb.
So yeah, I just didn't feel the jokes were nearly as clever, fun, or funny as like Ragnarok was. And Ragnarok was
over the top as it was.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I've actually felt like Ragnarok has not held up as well on subsequent reviewings. Like, we watched it the first time, I was like, that was fun, that was silly, it was kind of like Guardians, but it was doing its own thing as well. And then when we rewatch it, it's like bleh. And this one was just, again, it was more the same. I was just bled right out of the gate. And every time it tried to do something serious, they really couldn't hold on to it. They had to do the Marvel joke until the end sequence.
Yep, that was the only thing that really held any true emotion. And honestly, it was just weird because, like, every time, like, Thor went to go and visit the kids and stuff, like, it was like maybe somebody told him to not be as dreary or something. Because, like, the first time he's like, oh yeah, you're in a really bad spot, you're probably gonna die, but we're coming for you. And then, like, the next time he's like, oh, I'm telling you a cute little story. But,
yeah, he was.
But then it was like a flip flop kind of a thing. It wasn't consistent.
He was
his
a buffoon through the whole movie.
Yeah,
he really was.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just, even when they tried to give him tender moments, it fell flat because of all the prior scenes, because of even Ragnarok. He's just, the character's just a straight up buffoon.
Yeah, I mean, for a god, I mean, okay, so he hits hard, and that's about all he's good for. Because, I mean, what is it? As soon as Jane got there, she looked at the plans and she's like, oh crap, it's the, what is it? What's his ex's name?
Stormbreaker.
Yeah, Stormbreaker is the key. And it's like, oh, and she knew that right away. She looked at one thing and she's like, all right, got it. Got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, and she tossed it out there. I always find it funny, though, with these hammers and axes and stuff. I'm like, where do they go? Like, do they just float around in space or something while they're waiting?
Space and void.
While they're waiting out there?
Yeah, I don't know. It was...
I don't know.
I mean, the visual style of the whole movie was it was great, but then Disney Plus start, like, Obi-Wan. It was pretty just
clean.
Varied from you know, from unique and stylistic to bleh. You know, and it was, and at times, I get it, it's the arts, the style, I guess, but just that bright blue Thor.
Yeah, it was weird.
I like how, I guess because Jane had a helmet, he popped the helmet on in the beginning at one point, which was just dumb. Although I did like that, for the most part, when Jane jumped into battle, her helmet came back.
Yes.
So it's like she kept that, you know, at least there was some consistency with the helmet. I thought that was interesting. Although this is going to come off a little crass, but did you notice on, like, the design of Jane's uniform is that Natalie Portman is not very big, right? So they basically enhanced her bust, like super busted her. And those little circle pads that they have on the armor, they were like hanging down and off. There was a couple shots that I saw where they weren't flush up against her.
I honestly
her armor, they were just kind of like flat, like hanging off. Is like, if you curve it, you know, it's like hanging off. And that was just, it was very awkward. I'm like, I don't know if you want that flapping around. And if it folds back on an odd bend, wouldn't that hurt? But I don't know. So
I don't know.
I just didn't care. I really didn't. I'll give it a positive in the fact that Thor was still very much prominent in the central role of this movie.
Yes.
The story still very much was his story.
Yes.
And, you know, and Jane and Valkyrie didn't
overpower the story arc.
It didn't detour. I would say there was no bait and switch or any things like that.
Yes.
It was about, you know, Thor.
And him growing even a little bit more, I guess, to a degree.
He was, but again,
but at the end, he just was still the same old Thor.
This goofball wannabe Star-Lord Thor is just, for me, it's kind of worn out its welcome a little bit. And it's kind of, you know, also with just the Marvel humor, it's just, I'm over it, and it worries me with Guardians coming up. It's like Guardians, specifically the first one, really had a proper balance of humor and emotion. They knew when to play it right. All the actors were playing it right. Even when they were popping a joke off once or twice where it was an emotional moment, the character still said it in the emotion. Where in this, it just always was coming off as like, I'm so sad, I've got a joke.
Yeah.
And it was just terrible. I don't know. I still felt, Thor is the same at the end, and Jane's journey, I think, could have been so much more. But it was nice to have Jane back. I mean, I enjoy watching Natalie,
and I will say she is a beautiful woman. I was thinking about it today. I was like, wow, she actually really is beautiful now.
Yeah,
as she's gotten older, she was beautiful.
She looked great as Mighty Thor.
Absolutely.
I was just like, okay, I would have taken just a solo movie of hers. Like, can we just knock Thor off and then just get like Jane for a while?
It would have been nice, but it's okay.
Although I do find it kind of interesting. They can't cure cancer, but we got nanomachines and such. But anyway.
Oh no, that's more Bondverse and Marvelverse.
No. The nanos. Iron Man's suit is always and Wakanda. T'Challa and Black Panther.
That's true.
Nanomachines.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
no. I mean, yeah, she couldn't have gone to them
with
but,
all of that stuff. And,
well, Natalie's contract was over, so.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the last thing, I think the last thing I want to just talk about briefly was, other than maybe sequel setup, how pointless was the whole gods scene in the middle of the movie? Where they
other than to give Valkyrie a better weapon.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That's to
have a weapon because Thor was he was going to lose Storm Chaser, so he needed some other weapon that was lightning-esque that he can use, and so that was the whole point of it, and maybe set up the sequel. But,
of this.
Yeah, so
whatever that is.
Stick around for the post-credit scenes and such. And there was, I felt that was kind of just stupid and pointless, and as was the whole let's show his ass thing. I mean, that was yay. What's next? An F-bomb? Right? I mean,
if they wanted to get edgy.
We've had cursing has gone up a little bit, and then Eternals introduced a clean but a sex scene, and now we've got bare ass. So the only thing that's next is to drop an F-bomb. They did that. So that's where we're going.
It's still Disney, though.
It is still Disney, but I don't know. It's just it was pointless. It wasn't funny. The joke fell flat.
What, that whole scene?
Yeah.
And honestly, it was again, I guess if we were going back to that whole juvenile thing, like I knew, like he's like, hey, can I have the lightning bolt or whatever? And Zeus comes down and he starts doing this whole baton routine with it. I was like, seriously? We're going to do all this just so he can say no? And then they have to fight. It's so
ha funny.
So cutesy, whatever. And it was dumb. And I was like, please, just, I mean, with that whole scene, it honestly made Christian Bale's character more valid. Because they obviously didn't care.
Yeah.
So I would have been like, dude, I would have said, like, hold up a minute. I'm going to go get the sword from what's-his-name, and I'm going to wipe all you people out. Because you obviously don't care about all the people that... He's like, that's the whole point of us, is to care about the people that worship us. And all they cared about was what... he's like, all right, so who had the most sacrifices...
Yeah, they're making jokes of all that
nonsense. It's like, oh, I thought this
sacrifices and the orgy. See,
the orgy.
We're like stepping up the content. Yeah.
So that whole scene really didn't.
Are they gods? Are they just another alien
they now just jokes?
Race?
I mean, it just.
Well, no. In the world of like the MCU, is like, what the hell are gods? Are they just some other alien race, or is it something different? I don't know. The movie won't answer that.
No.
It's just another piece of
we just
nonsense
have to accept.
That's being thrown into a series, and the stakes, they keep making super stakes. Each one gets better, bigger and bigger and bigger, and just so they're just dull. They're boring. They're predictable. They're just I don't know. It's just
yeah.
It had some moments, but it just wasn't there. So I don't. You guys comment below what your thoughts were on it. You know, was it great? The music was horrid. I mean, the soundtrack. If you're into I can understand people going to be in the music, to the soundtrack. The score was bad. Ragnarok had a good score. I like Dark World's score. I know that movie gets ragged on, but this movie was just. I was surprised when it said Giacchio that did it. I was like, "Phew, girl, you phoned that in." But you got paid. Good on you. Anyways, that's about it. Thanks for watching.
Yep, and definitely let us know, and we'll see how we do when the next movie comes out.
That's true.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.